What is up, homies? Welcome back to another reaction from Heroes Reforged. We are reacting to the brand new main teaser for The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, with our subject matter expert, Augustine Rios.
My brain is overloaded with information, you guys. Just kidding. Man. No, I haven't been reading up on the text or like keeping up, brushing up. So I need to do some serious research before we jump into reacting to this series, which we are going to do. Right, boys?
Have you read?
Right, boys?
You're damn right.
Absolutely. Augustine, have you read the Sam I Amarillion? Have you read that?
The Sam I Am?
Silver Silmarillion. Yeah, I actually have read that. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this. This is the first like big trailer that we're gonna get, and yeah, it's a hotly contested. I'm not seeing as much negative backlash as I did for the first like images,
Super Bowl,
and the Entertainment Weekly thing, Super Bowl stuff.
We blocked a lot of those people, Augustine. We blocked a lot of the people.
We did. Yeah, and if I blocked you on Twitter, you know why. If I blocked you on Twitter, you know why. All right,
you know
shame
why,
on you,
son of a bitch.
Shame on what you said, and I'm not going to unblock you. But yeah, so all the feedback I've been seeing is positive, which is really encouraging because the backlash was so negative at first. But I'm just really excited to see. Adam, I know you've been excited just about the cinematography alone, right?
Oh yeah, some of the images that they released were so good, and I'm like, it's pulling on my heartstrings.
If only the internet knew what you sent us, Adam. If only the internet saw the meme that you sent Augustine and I.
Yeah.
Bad boy.
You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But like Augustine said, we are gonna do a reaction series for this show. We are also going to go, so if you haven't joined our Patreon yet, you should check it out, patreon.com/heroesreforged. We're also gonna revisit the original 3 films. That way, so we all kind of have a little bit of a refresher going into it, because I have seen The Fellowship of the Ring multiple times, but I have only seen The Two Towers and The Return of the King, I believe once or twice.
Yo, are we also trying to squeeze in Hobbits? Because technically this show is closer to The Hobbit. Only by only by this. We're not trying to squeeze in The Hobbit.
No, I don't think we're gonna do The Hobbit.
Not now, I would say.
Here's why. I think The Lord of the Rings is more consequential to the overall story that is gonna happen in The Rings.
You know why I would genuinely love to read The Hobbit is because I feel that the Hobbit movies are closer to the Hobbit book than people give it credit for. So yeah, I think it'd be awesome if we actually broke down the book like chapter by chapter, read the damn Hobbit, and then watched the movies. We'd probably be like, huh, yeah, that's in the book.
Interesting. Let's gauge. Let's gauge the audience. See how our patrons feel. See how our Discord feels about us watching the Hobbit trilogy as completionists, because I know it's going to itch your brain, Hector, if we don't watch.
Only if we can set up at my place and do some kind of reaction where we're all wearing 3D glasses and watching it in 3D.
Oh my
somehow.
God.
Have good
that would be
we set up an entire podcast studio, and Hector's like, come to my house where nothing is set up. I gotta make more work for me.
Hey, you got a 3D monitor? Let's do it over there.
I got a 3D TV.
Actually, we do have a 3D TV.
I have a 3D television. Hector, I literally just bought the Battle of the 5 Armies in 3D. All right. Anyway, you guys ready to watch this teaser?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There was a time when the world was so young.
Very familiar
there
tune.
had not yet been a sunrise. But even then, there was...
Whoa, the 2 trees! It's the 2 trees! Okay.
Whoa.
They're consequential.
Big bright tree.
Yeah, 2 of them. Ooh, what was that? Oh my God, look at these... Look at these environments.
Dwarfs their minds.
Yep.
Men their fields of grain. But we Harfoots have each other.
For I must now wander this wandering.
Ooh.
We're safe.
Kal-El has landed.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel.
Wow, these shots are really nice.
Put up your sword.
Yeah.
The enemy is still out there. The question now is where?
It is over.
You have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen.
Oh, what? What has she seen? Oh.
My God.
I have seen.
Whoa.
Holy crap.
Oh my God, look at those ships.
Wow.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth.
Oh, that's what's his name from Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Not just of our people, but all. peoples. am sorry, but their time has come.
Oh my
Past is
god.
with us all.
Oh, horse battles! Yeah, I love horse battles!
We either move forward or we die with it.
Oof.
This could be the beginning of a new era.
This looks so good.
Wow. Little hobbit feet. Proto hobbits.
First hobbits.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah, I think they're proto hobbits.
That's awesome.
Wow.
God, it looks gorgeous, man.
Oh
Dude,
my god.
That's so crazy. You literally could not have made this show like 10 years ago. Would have been almost
literally
impossible.
Every dollar of those billions of dollars feels earned right now that they're spending on
those
this
billions
show.
of
This is the most
Bezoses.
expensive show. Yeah, this is the most expensive show ever created, right? It's absolutely incredible. I'm running it in the background. So I freaked out over the trees. The trees are very important. So there is the main guy, Sauron, right? The main evil dude. But he also had this minion called Ungoliant, which is a giant spider. So you remember in Lord of the Rings how there's that spider in that cave tries to eat Frodo? Well, that's just a baby one compared to the giant spider that eats both of those trees. Jeez. And so
it's a spider
big,
god or something?
In the words of Kevin Smith,
every day with the fucking spider.
Always with the big spiders, right? And so, I mean, if you read fantasy, giant spiders are just there, like no matter what you do. But yeah, so the Silmarils come about because that spider basically kills those two trees, and that's kind of what's left. So the Silmarils are 3 magical jewels, and I think those jewels are going to come into play here. And then at the same time, Sauron is like forming rings and creating alliances and empower balances and like all kinds of crazy stuff. So
it's gonna make me want to read a lot of Tolkien this year.
There's a lot of lore.
There's a lot of lore, but the movies themselves have always made me want to read the books. And I read the first and a half book. I read Fellowship and like half of Two Towers, but it just got away from me years ago. And I plan to go and read the trilogy. And I've read The Hobbit, and it's great. So like, I think this is the show that's going to make me be like, dang, dude, do I need to crack open the Silmarillion? Like, I'll read that. Like, if it's just lore text, I might.
It's literally just lore text.
Epic. It looks so epic. So right. This whole show looks absolutely beautiful, beautiful, and it's making my little Hobbit heart happy. Outside of I want to ask this question to you guys and to Adam too. Outside of the Lord of the Rings of it all, because I'm definitely getting that high budget fantasy feeling of like, let's name the elephant in the room. It's been Game of Thrones for the past 10 years.
Right.
And that show had the budget, had the pop culture impact up to the finale, and then people didn't enjoy it. But it feels like this is like, okay, we're answering Game of Thrones. We're responding to that, except it's actually set in the world of Middle Earth, which I think is more accessible and it's more famous and well known and popular and obviously. But outside of all the Lord of the Rings of it all, this is a show. How does it look to you guys? How do do the characters and do the potential storylines and everything, is that something that you think is also going to work, or do you or are you looking at this at all and going like, man, I don't know if it's going to work, but the Lord of the Rings of it all looks dope.
For me, because I'll be totally honest, I've seen very limited episodes of Game of Thrones. I've seen all of season, people are going to hate this, but I've seen all of season 8, and then I started watching season 1, but I haven't finished it. So, I've seen I've seen both ends of it. I've seen the most recent stuff where, it's like the ultimate budget for that show, but I've seen also like the sprinkling of the sea, basically.
When it started.
This just already feels different to me, and I don't really know how to explain it. I would say that to me, just based on this teaser, the world feels bigger. And I know that Game of Thrones fans might hear that and they're like, yeah, but that world was very like vast and rich. And like, I don't disagree with you, but I think because naturally the scale of Lord of the Rings is so huge that even the way it's shot, there's a lot of wides, there's a lot of establishing stuff. I think I'm just getting like a different vibe from it, and it's making me more interested. And this is nothing against Game of Thrones. It just, the trailers never really like fully hooked me, despite the show, I'm sure, being great. I was never really hooked by the trailers, but I watched this teaser and the first one for the Super Bowl, and maybe it is because I'm a little bit more familiar with Lord of the Rings also. I just am visually hooked by this. So whatever the story ends up being, I have no clue. Like, I'm going into this pretty much not knowing almost anything outside of the 3 movies that I've seen. And I saw the first Hobbit movie. Actually, I think I've only seen the first Hobbit movie.
Oh,
so yeah, I'm really going into this just knowing very little.
You just codified the fact that we are going to watch the Hobbit movies now. That's why
after we watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Hector's like, shit, okay, we gotta watch them now.
Well, here's why. I watched the first Hobbit film in 48 frames 3D, and I didn't like it. No. So I was like,
that was a bad gimmick. Hector, how do you feel about all this? I feel like out of all of us, you have the least familiarity with this world, right?
I might. I think I am in agreement with Adam. The visuals are so freaking stunning. Like, it's so good. And I was trying to watch this teaser. I saw somebody post about how like this gave everything away, and I'm like, I still don't know who the characters are.
That's happening.
Yeah.
This doesn't give anything away.
I know young Kate Blanchett's characters in it, and that's about it.
I only have one question that I'm going to ask for kind of a clarification in a little bit. But in terms of me looking at this trailer, I am so excited to see what the story is going to be and what the characters are going to be, and what are we going to hop around to different characters in different parts of this world as everything is kind of coming together and stuff. So like, I'm so excited to explore the Lord of the Rings world in a familiar premiere television format that I think we've all gotten really used to over the past years, because I do love those films, and I even enjoy the Hobbit movies. And I think that from reading the Tolkien that I've read, I'm like, there is something to, let's slow it down. Let's take an episode to explain how good this tree looks, and then we'll move on to, there's just something kind of, you're forgiving to Tolkien as the author who really not want to say invented that style of writing, but just like, my God, man, that style of writing is so dry and so British and so like rich, and it's so like indulgent that you're like, it's fine, it's okay. Because
honestly, for me, it's tough to read.
The whole world. Yeah, it can be. It absolutely can be. And you have to be in the right mindset, and I think you also have to, it's been so crazy to see how Lord of the Rings, the movies, have made this world, and how those movies are so accessible and so popular around the world, because it's like, to a lot of people, I'm sure, that have tried the material, it can seem impenetrable. And then those movies came out, and it's like, but this is what the stories are about, and this is who those characters are, and they're so relatable to human experiences, and they're full of underdogs. And so then I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing all these quick flashes of actors and stuff, and I'm like, I can't wait to learn more about these characters, and probably spend more time with this dude on horseback, just hours wise, than we spent with like Aragorn or Gimli, and I love those characters. So that's how I feel about it. I mean, Augustine, can you even look at this as a show, or can you only just see the kind of matrix code potential of what some of these
I can look at it as a show, because I feel like the text is like the matrix that you're looking at, because it takes a special group of people to bring all that text, put it in as a movie. If you watch the bonus footage on the extended version of Lord of the Rings, or just like the whole documentary that they have, Peter Jackson and Philippa, who are the main writers on the show, they also described the challenge of trying to put Tolkien's words on film, because previously it was thought impossible. Like, there was nobody in the world who could bring his writing and like bring it all down to a level where, like you said, Hector, is accessible for people, because Tolkien liked to write. And where do you take that creative freedom and say, nah, Tolkien wrote about this, but I don't think we got to do that, without pissing people off, right? Because if it were up to other people, they would just do it word for word, and that would be a horrible movie.
8-hour movie.
Or series of movies, right? So what I'm hoping is that the team behind this took that kind of mentality to heart, and really brought in and like distilled the important moments of the history of Middle Earth, because they're long. A lot of stuff happens. The Silmarillion, like you said, is not like, it's not a super fleshed out book as far as like detailing events, but it is just like lists of events, things that happen. It's like the Bible. It's just like listing things that are happening to get to the point where we are in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. There's also the appendices, which is like a whole other set of books that were written, and I haven't dove into those either. So like I said, I can see this as a show, and hopefully once we start to see, the story, the pacing, the editing, and all that stuff, it'll give me more hope that all of this stuff is done by the right team, because that's really essential. It's like making sure the team loves this, enjoys this, wants to see the best out of all of this. And they're mostly all New Zealanders, so I'm pretty sure that they're going to do it justice because fucking New Zealand loves Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Peter Jackson, and this whole thing just like reinvigorated the whole film industry down there. So I hope it really does it justice.
So at the beginning, we heard a piece of music that was evoking the Howard Shore theme from the Lord of the Rings films. So my question is, do we know if this show is technically considered a prequel to the movies? Or, because I'm looking at the description and it says it's the epic drama set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. So is it just where like
specifically states the books, not the movies?
Is this considered its own thing in a reboot, but they still like have the rights to the music the same way? For example, we just saw Patrick Stewart in Doctor Strange, and we heard but it's like that Doctor Strange or that Patrick Stewart Professor X is different than what he did in the other movies, but they're just evoking the same sort of feeling. Does that make sense? Do we know if it's an official prequel?
That does make sense. I think the license that they have here, and the cool thing about it is that nobody that's involved in there are some characters like Galadriel's a different character, right? So Galadriel, that main actor, right. It's a different actor, right? But you have thousands of years for that person to grow and change and kind of like change their look or whatever, that you have that creative freedom. Technically, the events that happen here lead up to everything that happens in Lord of the Rings, because it's called Rings of Power. I'm guessing this is where the rings are going to be formed, right? And so that event that you see there with everybody dying, it's assumed that it's the fall of Númenor, and the fall of Númenor causes the fall of Aragorn's like kind of empire, and makes him not be special because he's a Númenorian. He comes from that place. It's tied into it, but I think we're just going to have to watch it to really figure out how detailed it is, because all of these events are thousands of years before we see anything pay off.
And also I want to say for clarification too, like Star Trek is still making shows that are set in the Star Trek world that is the normal one from 50 years ago, what started with the original series, even if they have different younger actors portraying like Spock, for example, and Captain Pike and whatever else, but it's still technically set in the thing. But in terms of rights issues and everything, like this could be that, but it could also be like, I know that the show may end up saying officially we're not a prequel to the movies, but we're obviously trying to play in that space and evoke all of those feelings. And like, you could watch this show as a prequel to the movies, but we're technically saying and claiming and writing as though we're a prequel to the books. Just worry about that. So,
and a lot of that I think comes from also that the show and the movies exist from two different studios. One is Amazon and the other is New Line Cinema / Warner Brothers.
But it's like, Augustine, you said New Zealanders are working on this show. Yeah. Where are they filming? Are they filming it in the UK? I think they're filming it in the UK, not in New Zealand, though, right?
I think it's UK and New Zealand,
As far as I've been able to find, the only connective thread between the two is Howard Shore doing the music for both.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There you go.
We're recording this and Comic-Con hasn't happened yet, and they are having a big panel for this series next week. So it is possible that may come up, because I do feel like it is a question that has been asked by the internet so many times. So I feel like it might be advantageous for the creators to just say, like, if you want to consider us, you can.
Yeah.
We don't know what the future has in store for this franchise. Like Amazon could remake their own movies. Who knows if they will?
Right.
But they may give you just like some boundaries.
That would be the stupidest thing anyone's ever tried to do. If they tried to
like remaking Star Wars,
so dumb. Yeah, and I guess that there, from what I imagine, there can't really be anything in this show that would outright contradict anything in the movies. You see what I'm saying? It's not like they'll do something and people go, "Oh, that means it's not canon with them," because it's like set thousands of years beforehand.
Right? Exactly.
If there are characters like Gandalf or whoever who lived in the film era of the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings movies, and they could still be alive now. Like, just casting a different actor doesn't mean it's like, oh, it's a reboot. It's like, well, that's just like a production necessity. That doesn't necessarily mean that again, Ethan Peck is playing young Spock and Leonard Nimoy was Spock. It's still the same thing. Anyway, whatever. Not important.
You're right, Hector. And we will talk about details as we watch the show. I'm going to start to read up because there's just a ton of stuff that they can pull from. And so, yeah, I'm really just looking forward to this one. 1,000%. This is my most anticipated project of the year.
Honestly, I'm excited for it because you're here. Like, would I watch it on my own? Of course I would have, but I don't think I would have prioritized it as much. But the fact that you're such a big fan is the reason why I'm really excited to dive into it. I'm like, if you have homework for us, I mean, outside of the movies, like I'm kind of down for whatever.
We're gonna do homework together, you guys. Yeah, because we're best friends forever. We're the three best friends that anybody could have.
Guys, let us know in the comments your thoughts, some of your theories, whether you think it'll be connected or not. I'm excited to see what happens at Comic-Con. I'm sure we'll all be stuck on the internet next weekend, tweeting about all the stuff that's going to be happening. I'm very, very, very excited. Looking forward to it. Check out our Patreon where we will be dropping uncut reactions for this series, plus the films as we slowly get through them. Lord of the Rings first, and then The Hobbit. We'll get through it, I promise. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you guys in the next reaction. Bye.